Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. We are extremely excited to have you join us for 4 uses of generative AI for immersive learning. This is going to be a great session. Just to introduce myself really quickly, I'm Kristen Torrance, Head of Learning Engineering at Talespin. And in my role, I'm responsible for a lot of the learning design, measurement, and generative AI R&D that we're doing. And I have the pleasure of being up here today with my fellow AI Labs colleague and Talespin's Vice President of Learning Services, Lisa Jenkins. Would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey everyone, I am Lisa Jenkins. I oversee Talespin's learning module production, and I also work closely to support our customers and partners in all aspects of their module creation and production.
Fantastic. So just to start, when we talk about generative AI, we are referring to the type of AI that can generate new content. It does this by learning from existing data and then uses that data to generate new content. And when we refer to immersive learning experiences, we're specifically talking about the learning solutions that leverage extended reality technologies, VR, AR, MR. These technologies really help simulate realistic scenarios and promote knowledge and skill acquisition. So in our conversation today, we will be focused around 4 different areas of creating immersive learning experiences, specifically ones that Gen AI can support. And we found this through our rigorous research and development. So first, we'll talk about content design and generation. We'll dive into narrative design and also narrative dialogue writing and how these tools can help us there. We'll then dive into dynamic world creation, so concept art generation and virtual environments. Then we'll move into dynamic animation, and this has to do with animating virtual humans for the immersive learning content. And then skill measurement, which is probably my favorite topic to talk about, using generative AI to measure learner performance within immersive modules.
Thanks, Kristen. I also wanted to include a little background information on our experience working with these Gen AI tools, as we focused a lot of R&D in this space in the Talespin AI Labs over the past year or more. The most used tools in this space are definitely evolving daily. And there are brand new tools in the market every week. Sometimes it feels like every day, maybe even every hour. And we've been working with the tools to best understand their application in the learning and content creation space, remaining really vigilant for both efficacy and safety. And we'll continue that work of evaluating new tools. But today we are really hoping to share some current and very near future practical application that all learning and content creators can utilize. Recognizing this webinar may also be a snapshot in time and space for the Gen AI world, given how quickly everything is changing.
Awesome. So let's get to it.
Since we're speaking a lot about Copilot Designer today, that is Talespin's authoring platform, we did want to share a quick video just to demonstrate exactly what the platform is. And while we are in Copilot Designer every day creating our content, our intent really is to discuss the application of the Gen AI concepts and how they're not just relevant, but truly game-changing in all learning modalities, Copilot Designer included, but not exclusively that.
All right. So as you can see, Copilot Designer and immersive learning in general, we've all entered this new paradigm of intelligence augmentation, right? We're now equipped with generative AI tools that can help expedite and optimize module creation and really empower creatives to push boundaries of immersive learning experiences. So we will dive into how we might be able to do so augmented with generative AI. So as you saw, immersive learning solutions that we create with Copilot Designer are conversationally based. They're interactive trainings to develop soft skills. And in these examples, when we talk about content generation using generative AI, we'll really be framing it specifically within the context of narrative design and narrative writing. So just to quickly clarify the differences between narrative design and narrative writing. So narrative design is a discipline that focuses on designing the way in which a story will be told and really how to branch out that story into a series of really interesting decisions. That's something that we do a lot in our work. And you can think about these immersive learning experiences as essentially interactive storytelling, right? Where learners are really immersed in this narrative and engaged with the story and experiencing it in first person. So rather than having the story be told really in a linear fashion, narrative design is really the act of composing the story so that it becomes more of a conversation. And narrative writing, right, is the act of scripting the story and really writing that conversational dialogue that the characters will say and the response options that the learners will then articulate. So one of the most helpful use cases for generative AI applied to narrative design is ideation. Really asking generative AI tools to help ideate can spark ideas and gain inspiration for the direction that we may want our brainstorm to go. So being able to have a list presented is, not only saves time, but also allows us to not have to start from a blank slate, which could be difficult for some. Also if there's an idea that you may want a rendition of or an alternative but somewhat similar option, these tools can really help you and your team explore these different possibilities and use what's generated as a jumping off point for additional brainstorming and additional discussion. So for instance, you can prompt ChatGPT or Bard or Claude, whichever tool that you are using, and with a prompt like describing realistic workplace scenarios that allow learners to practice delivering constructive feedback to their team, right? And these tools will then generate a list of scenarios. For instance, for workplace scenarios presented here for practicing delivering constructive feedback are a project debrief meeting, feedback about presentation practice runs, customer service role play feedback, and then also performance reviews. So that we found ideation as being a really powerful phase in our narrative design process where Gen AI has been extremely useful. Also, the value add of generative AI tools during narrative design outlining really is its ability to power rapid content generation and iteration. So generative AI quickly can generate an abundance of different ideas and a multitude of potential narrative structures, which can save valuable time, and that time can now be allotted to other crucial aspects of development, such as developing character depth or world building. Creators can also use generated outlines as a springboard that can be built upon or used to spark new ideas or direction. The generative AI suggestions might be unexpected also, and can really encourage creators to explore unconventional outcomes and really break away from any sort of formulaic storytelling that might be that might be unfolding. And then the outlines can be iteratively refined and customized according to specific project requirements. So in this way, Gen AI can efficiently scale creativity by generating diverse outlines for different story arcs. And speaking about story arcs, creating a 5-point story arc for a conversation is something that we often ask generative AI to do, especially when we are developing these interactive Copilot Designer modules, because it is interactive storytelling, right? And so providing specifics or constraints around the arc and then asking it to provide, to generate a story arc for us, it could output something like this, right? So a performance review, preparation conversation with Sarah. The 5 points that generative AI has outputted are introduction and setting the tone, sharing accomplishments, addressing challenges, constructive feedback and growth areas, and then setting actionable goals. So a 5-point story arc is one method of outlining that we found really powerful. Another one is asking generative AI to provide beats of a conversation or moments in which the conversation that has sort of distinct focus, right? These beats of a conversation usually represent pivotal points or emotion or tension or shifts in character relationships within the story, and really helps to pace the interaction and advance the narrative. So here we've asked ChatGPT to outline beats of a conversation between a character, Mara, and the learner, where they discuss Mara's request for assistance. And here you can see that it has generated 8 beats for this specific conversation. The first one starts with Mara's urgent call, and then describing the situation, and then Mara's request for assistance, Mara's sharing in information. The learner then responds and listens to Mara's requests, clarifies details, expresses gratitude, and then there's final closing instructions and guidance before ending the call. So outlining has been a really helpful part of our, it's actually an essential part of narrative design, but augmented with Gen AI has been extremely powerful for our practice. Another element of narrative design is emotional arcs of characters within the story, right? To make these immersive learning modules seem real and authentic, the characters within them also need to seem like real people that learners are talking with. And so to accomplish this, we typically create what we call character personas for all of the characters in the interactive modules. And these characters have unique backgrounds, they have experiences, history with other characters in our virtual worlds, and then also distinct personality traits that really try to shine through in these conversations. And so by feeding the model character persona details, and then also a synopsis of the conversation being had and that they're engaging with the learner, we can then ask ChatGPT, Bard, Claude, or other Gen AI tools that you may be using to then produce an emotional arc for that character. Because that character is experiencing that conversation from a particular perspective. And so knowing that, we'll be better able to write dialogue originating from that character, and vice versa for the learner as well. And you can see here, ChatGPT has described Coco's emotional state throughout the entire length of the conversation, as did the learner, how the learner felt throughout the conversation as well. Another powerful use case is using generative AI for first drafts of narrative dialogue writing. So utilizing it to quickly generate first draft scripts can really provide a solid structural framework for the body of narrative, right? Really ensuring that it follows a coherent and engaging trajectory. It also allows writers to explore different narrative paths and the scenarios without fully committing to one direction, which is extremely helpful. It can also save writers time that can then be allocated to refining or polishing or enhancing the storyline in some way, which is especially advantageous when working on tight deadlines or when handling projects with multiple drafts. And that way, writers can dedicate more time and energy to refining the structure, character development, or dialogue authenticity, and prompting emotional resonance within the dialogue and storyline by adding depth and nuance and really originality to the script. Another thing that ChatGPT or other Gen AI tools are really great at is helping creators rewrite dialogue in different tones to achieve specific storytelling goals, which really helps to enhance the overall impact of the narrative. For instance, changing the tone of a character dialogue can make more obvious characters' specific personality traits or emphasize the context in which the conversation is taking place. ChatGPT and other Gen AI tools can also help with converting dialogue into specific tones, but also accomplish things like checking for grammar or checking for spelling and fixing those errors. So in this example, ChatGPT transformed the dialogue. Switching roles is exciting. I just want to make sure it's something we can work through. To a more professional and formal tone, and rewrote it as the prospect of transitioning roles is invigorating. However, I aim to ensure that it's a challenge we can effectively navigate together. Creators might also want to rewrite dialogue in different tones to evoke desired emotional responses from learners or convey subtext and hidden tensions between characters. So for this example, with a closure rate of about 50%, our team likely won't hit our sales goals. ChatGPT was able to rewrite that in a more expressive and amplified emotional tone to, oh no, our closure rate is only about 50%. It's highly unlikely we'll achieve our sales goals at this rate. We need to step it up, team. It's a little more expressive, and excuse my acting skills. And then lastly, another tone example. Creators might want to rewrite dialogue in different tones to do things like establish intended mood of a conversation. So here, the dialogue, Khalil, I want you to know that you have a safe space here to express yourself and seek support whenever you need it. Was rewritten to be more casual and informal. Hey, Khalil, just so you know, this is a judgment-free zone where you can be yourself and get support whenever you want. We're here for you, buddy.
Thank you, Kristen. I wanted to spend a little time talking about another area we're exploring and finding a lot of practical application. And that is with world and environment creation with the use of generative AI tools. The tools are really democratizing the ability to create varied and realistic worlds with virtual characters and environments. That means that a tabletop gamer can have awesome visuals which mirror what their favorite game company is doing, and learning designers can quickly world build and flesh out characters and their experiences too. It's definitely a great way to enable imaginations of both artists and the artistically challenged by encouraging a sort of creative and conceptual shorthand and a language that they can work through together. So pretty obviously, these are some tools that, that we've been using for concept art ideation in particular. We are able to quickly get to pretty high quality concepts and put those in front of stakeholders ASAP. That has been really great and kind of allows us to jump really quickly forward in the production process. It's also a great tool for sparking creativities for writers, directors, and artists because these tools can be a lot of fun, and it's an important and maybe sometimes even overlooked part of the creative process. It's a fast and accessible way to play with creative discovery and iterate and explore ideals. As visual shorthand or language for both non-creatives and creatives, that's probably a familiar pain point for many of the people on this call. The amount of time that you can lose going back and forth to establish a shared visual framework, it's been a tremendous help to us in conveying those ideas. And then also in world building to inspire design, imagery, rules, quickly build out a really immersive world with depth and detail using a tool like ChatGPT, an image builder like Midjourney, or finding ways to use them both in concert. And finally, a translation of character persona into visual imagery, which is, I think, especially helpful for actors and writers that we're working with. And on the next slide, I wanted to share some concept art. This is recent art that we've been working on for environments and virtual humans. They were created in Midjourney, and I would say took about 10% of the previously typical amount of time that something like this would take to create images. And what's really great is we have something camera ready to share with our team of creatives and stakeholders so fast. And the capability and tools of the prompts that we use to create these images are evolving daily. So our experience is really that what works one day to get you exactly what you're looking for will probably have changed if and when you revisit it even a week or two later. So it really does underline the importance of ongoing research and experimentation, which we've obviously been doing a lot of and really enjoying. And on the next slide, I also did want to share this really specific example, a one-to-one example of character concept art for a virtual human, Miranda. And the initial artwork here on the left was something that was created by our creative team in Midjourney. And then on the right, you can see how she actually looks in Copilot Designer. So being able to start with that Midjourney art and be able to translate it over there made the process so much faster and I think more fun for everyone involved. And next up, we're also understanding how we can best use generative AI tools for dynamic animation. There really is a great opportunity to work with AI in creating more and better animations for avatars. In Copilot Designer, the learner converses with virtual humans. So for us, obviously, that's really important. And we want to explore ways that we can interweave generative AI with the platform. Right now in Copilot Designer, users currently control performance of virtual humans themselves. They build out gestures, emotions, and poses, and it provides the greatest fidelity for right now. However, a near future state goal is that AI will be driving virtual characters to exhibit realistic human voices, movements, and emotional responses. Now, synthetic voices or text-to-speech voice, currently AI voices are really quite good. And in many cases, they do even pass for human. We rely on those a lot, and they're especially handy for us in early table reads or as proof of concept for stakeholders. Perhaps you might want to go on and record voiceover with an actor afterwards. You also have the ability with AI to create voice templates from a specific person, for instance, a familiar instructor that learners may be interacting with. Also, the text-to-speech technology, it's going to continue to increase nuance in inflection, pronunciation. The space is advancing really quickly, and human identical voices are in the very near, if not immediate future. Other things that we're exploring are animation presets. For instance, we might want to have a preset that is professional and friendly, and that would be the default for the virtual human in a experience and would really cut down on time for someone who wouldn't otherwise have to do a great deal of performance editing. There are also opportunities for AI to suggest performance presets based on analyzing content and emotion in modules. If there are certain words, for instance, thinking back to one of Kristen's examples of helping to Khalil feel like he's supported at work, there might be some keywords that it's looking for, and then it knows, okay, we're going to be using emotions with the virtual humans that are friendly and supportive. And yet another thing on the horizon that we're investigating, and this is super cool, is the ability to train neural networks to learn from emotions by analyzing the learner's face, voice, body language. For example, if the learner is happy, then the virtual human would smile and reflect happiness back at them. If someone seems troubled, then the virtual human may adopt a similarly serious demeanor. It makes the learning experience more dynamic and interactive, and hopefully more realistic and fun. And it also helps to create characters that really connect with learners a little more.
All right, another use case that has been really a huge focus of our R&D efforts is using Gen AI for skill measurement. So we've been training models on Talespin's soft skills ontology and the performance rubrics to automate really the first pass of our scoring a skill demonstration within our modules. So what we've really been able to accomplish this in a variety of different ways. We found success using things like custom instructions and prompt chaining as well, to where now we're able to reduce the time it takes to score modules by 50%. We cut it in half. It's been fantastic. Really a goal for the future is to take our learnings from hardening these models and apply them in real time to a deeper and more specific array of measures based off things like industry and geography and other use cases. But I guess one takeaway for you is that you could implement these same strategies at your organizations, really by experimenting with, providing your skills ontology, or maybe you have a taxonomy that your organization has adopted, and specific performance criteria that you implement. And then ask ChatGPT or other generative AI tools to analyze that data, focus, and using the criteria that you've set. We found it to be really effective for us.
So as we've mentioned, research and evaluation of these tools is constant. It is ongoing every day. I think that we're finding new ways to apply this to our work, and hopefully there have been some ideas for everyone in attendance in over the past 32 minutes for work that you and your team are doing as well. I did want to take a moment to share a quick look at our phased approach to incorporating Gen AI as a company. We're currently in the transition from phase 1 to 2 here. We've integrated generative AI into module creation, and we're actively pursuing integrating the technology and learnings into Copilot Designer. Phase 3 is going to be really exciting because we're envisioning conversations that adapt and flow in real time, just like in real life conversations with in real life people, and allow for experiences which have some guidelines or parameters, but are otherwise open-ended. A potential use case might be for helping learners level up their financial literacy, providing a generative or adaptive experience that customizes itself to the learner's financial understanding or acumen. The tool can synthesize the latest news and trends from the finance world and then be able to converse with the learner on a daily or regular cadence. And so the learner is able to level up their understanding of personal finance that way. Another option could be around compliance-based training. And in that case, it'd take policies, procedures, company culture, and turn that into a really dynamic repository of beliefs, knowledge, and regulations. So a new hire or a learner might interact with a virtual human and role play, asking questions like, based on my role, what are the 6 most relevant tenets for me? Or if X happened, what would I do? So the future of Copilot Designer is adaptive and personalized to the learner, and we know that that can be powered by generative AI technology. And then finally, hopefully as an extra benefit, I wanted to quickly share this flywheel diagram that illustrates how we are synthesizing all of these ideas into a whole. You can see how we're marrying these different generative AI technologies to take advantage of multiple opportunities. And hopefully seeing this and some of the different elements inspires you and your teams to see ways for the tools to intermingle or interact in your business and push advancement in content creation. We'd love to hear more about your ideas or dreams for elevating experiences and crafting amazing content for your users. And with that, I think we just wanted to leave you with a short video capturing some of the near future work that we are embarking on, and we'd love to answer any questions or discuss ideas further with you guys afterwards.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed our session and enjoyed that video. I think we're ready to open the floor now for a Q&A. Luli or Ida, would you like to share any questions that we might have collected?
Absolutely. I can go ahead and moderate from the beyond. I think this one is a good one for Lisa. Will the environments and virtual humans shown today be available to customers?
That is a good question. What we shared today is a combination of existing virtual humans and environments as well as concept. Ooh, sorry if there's an audio issue. Concept art that we have in development for projects that we are working on. So I'm sorry, annoying answer is both yes and no. But the good news is with these tools, we are able to create environments and virtual humans faster and get them into the tool very quickly, as well as being responsive to the desires and needs of our customers and partners. So if that is someone who's asking, who is also a partner of ours, if there's something that you see that you would very much like to be able to utilize, please let us know. And we are always taking requests for our production team to add new virtual humans and environments.
Amazing. Kristen, I think this one's good for you.
Okay.
I know a lot of learning takes place during decision points in scenario. What kind of prompts have you used to get a collection of realistic, correct, and incorrect choices?
That is a good question. So one of the things that we really like to include, as you mentioned, are those realistic types of responses that are almost like a gut reaction or happen to be misconceptions. One powerful method that we've been able to utilize is, from our discovery when we're speaking to subject matter experts, we're usually parsing out, what common misconceptions are and what are common mistakes people make within these specific conversations. And so what we've been able to do is, provide those examples to Bard or ChatGPT and ask for different renditions of them for the specific context. What are the different ways we may see or observe learners accidentally do these incorrect behaviors within the context of our specific scenario. So I think providing it as much information as you had to around the context of the scenario and maybe even the phase or beat of the conversation that you're focusing on, while also having ChatGPT be mindful of what those mistakes are, has been really powerful for us.
Amazing. Another good one, I think this is for either one of you, but are there any use cases where you found AI to be the most effective at creating content for?
That is a really good question. I think that we have found, obviously role playing is a real natural. I think that we found that conversations with a fairly distinct beginning, middle, and end really lends itself best to generative AI technology. It very much likes to sort of tell a story that has a solid beginning, middle, and end. And so that traditional structure, I think you're able to apply it really readily. Kristen, can you think of anything else?
Yeah, I would say it's really helpful when the particular character that you're writing for has a specific personality, right? A bubbly personality, something that is very distinct, that maybe there's a lot in the corpus that it can pull from. It has really a good idea of how to, if you say can you write dialogue for this character who has a bubbly personality? I think it's readily able to do that for that specific characteristic, as compared to if you were to sort of feed it a more unique character persona that has kind of trouble latching on to a specific archetype.
Any more questions?
I think now is a good time to end because we are at the end of the session.
Right.
We're excited to share with everyone that we'll be sending this video out to you all, as well as a link to register for a demo or to connect to learn more.